working on various streams. Here we go.
We are going live. We've got 3 seconds there. Let me just test it on.
Oh yeah, live. 8, 9. No, I think we're live. We're live.
Live.
Right, Johann. I've been meaning to say to you, because I enjoy working with you and we've got mutual clients, and I've just been really impressed by your general willingness to help people and things like that. And I've only just joined the dots that Client Engager is your invention. So not only are you personable, but you're technically strong as well. So yeah, tell us a bit about that and Client Engager.
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily technically strong. If you put a bit of code in front of me, it'd be like reading the Matrix. I've got no chance. But yeah, no, Client Engager came from a background of being frustrated with other providers who were more interested in raising seed money and funding to be able to pay their own wages than they were actually launching a decent product and developing a decent product. So when I was invited to help do a small project for Client Engager, which then became ownership status and all sorts of things from there a couple of years ago, it was an easy win for me to go, yeah, definitely. If it means I'm going to have the tool that I need for my business, which no one else seems to be able to do, then of course I'll get on with it. So yeah, so I spend my days between Client Engager, podcasting, YouTubing, and running my own group of accounting businesses. Events. So keep myself busy with a variety of things.
Yeah, because it's all in line very much with your ethos of, you know, very regular points of contact with clients, because I hear so many stories of accountants and bookkeepers outside of your network who don't necessarily always keep in regular contact, and then it all becomes a bit of a rush at tax year end and things like that. So if you've got a good client engagement system, then you can do that.
Exactly. And the beauty of Client Engager is that you can automate so much. So all of our clients, 3 months before their financial year end for limited companies, get an email without any hassle from us. It's all automated. They get an email 3 months beforehand that says, would you like a tax planning session? Here's a link to our diary to book that in. Now, maybe 10% take us up on that. But no one can argue that we're not proactive, because they get an email inviting them to be proactive themselves. You know, on the 5th of April this year, in the side of under 5 minutes, I generated and sent out 275 self-assessment tax questionnaires to our clients. We've had nearly 20% of them back already. Like, we had 15% of our whole client base's tax return questionnaires back in the first week of the tax season. So we've already filed 10% of our tax returns for the year. And what are we in? 2-3 weeks in?
That's insane. And I'd love to know how those statistics stack up against other accountancy practices.
Well, there's more and more that are becoming more and more proactive. And there's quite a lot of business mentors and coaches that are out there doing like league tables and competitions of, right, who can get 100% of their tax returns filed by end of November or something. So there's a bit of peer-on-peer encouragement. But even with those league tables and stuff, unless you've got the right tools to make it efficient and productive, then it's not.
Which brings us to the title of our LinkedIn Live and my favorite Incredibles character, Edna. Who's your favorite Incredibles character?
I do like the dad.
Yeah, he's cool.
he's trying to do everything right for his family. He's given up what he really likes doing, which is being a superhero. I think there's a lot of unspoken admiration that should be there for that.
And the mum, when she's Elastigirl and trying to be a mum and a superhero as well. That's pretty cool. But Edna just comes out with some real corkers. She's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, but luck, it's not just luck that favors the prepared. It's, those who seek out the good accounting systems. I mean, my own accountant used to tut at my spreadsheets that used to arrive, late November and things like that. And then he said during lockdown, I actually read Zoe's book, and then I thought, well, I'm going to sort this out because we've got buy-to-let properties, my sole trader income, my husband's got a limited company, and I implemented Xero very basically. And then I phoned him up and I said, you know, I've implemented Xero because it helps me keep track of things. And he said, oh, we run on Xero. That's great. And I think, oh, and you get a discount if you go through us as well. You know, instead of £20 a month, it's £6 a month. I'm thinking,
instead of sitting there tutting it for your spreadsheet,
tutting at my spreadsheets, yeah.
Why didn't you say use Xero or you like?
I don't know why. You know, like I had to get rid of the tutting through my own exploration.
And it was only by chance it happened to be that you accidentally chose a software that he used, and it's like,
exactly,
well, yeah, like,
and then,
all it would have taken is a conversation of, look, instead of sending me this every year, why don't you use this? We use this. This is great. We can support you with this. We can do your training on this. Instead of, you know, stumbling through, going, right, I'm going to use this one. By look of the draw, it was the right one for your accountant.
Also, it kind of it eats away at your confidence as well. And the funny thing is, the kind of unwritten and unexpected result here was the peace of mind that I had. Instantly, I was like, okay, and now I've got processes set up. I take pictures of my receipts, which then goes through to HubDocs, which then goes through to Xero. I used to do a lot of it myself, but I now appreciate the value of paying a bookkeeper, and they keep on top of that, you know, and I appreciate that. They've set it all up. I'd obviously only set up Xero in a fairly basic way, but I can now run a P&L of the individual buy-to-let properties, sole trader stuff, or everything all together instantly. Obviously, it's only as good as what's been pulled through HubDocs again, but that's again a motivation basically. But yeah, no, I think it's absolutely vital, you know, having that relationship. And so in terms of what people can do now, you know, you've already done a lot of it, but engage, get comfortable with your accountant and your bookkeeper, ask them what you need to be doing, and hit it head on, really, because I think we all can have a tendency to sometimes bury our heads in the sand.
Yeah, and never settle, but never assume, right, I've got this, I've got that, I'm done. The software world's always evolving. So like HubDoc's okay, but actually, if you're a WhatsApp fan, then you want to use something like Apron, because you can WhatsApp your receipts in through Apron.
Oh, I'll write that down now. Apron. Like, as in the apron you wear in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's called the website's Get Apron. So it does what HubDoc does. So at the moment for HubDoc, you can drag and upload, you can email in, and that's all great. But actually, the more channels of we have to get stuff in. So on Apron, you can drag and upload through a web browser. You can email it in as an email and PDF. You can use their app to take a picture and upload it that way.
Okay.
But also, you get a WhatsApp number just to forward it on. Like, you just take a picture on WhatsApp and send it on a WhatsApp chat. Like,
and it does all the same things.
Just all the same things. But how many people actually would prefer to WhatsApp a receipt into their accountant than they would email, web browser, or an app? We've all got enough apps now, right? We don't need another app on our phone because it just gets lost.
Yeah.
Most people avoid their emails because it's full of spam. If you've got to sit down and log in and drag and drop, it's a chore on a browser. When people are on the go all the time. Whereas if you go and have a coffee and you just take a picture on your WhatsApp and that goes straight off to the, how convenient is that?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's very much worth, while we're on this theme of luck favors the prepared, is splitting this out into the employed and the self-employed. And it is, and I'm self-employed, and it is so hard, even as someone who's in the industry, who knows how it all works, to really manage that cash flow and really keep on top of it and really feel confident and do the monthly payment into the pension. And so you've got to be even more on top of it, and you've got to be, I think, even prepared to spend more time and more money on regular updates and good bookkeeping and committing that time to it, basically. And then, of course, you have the people who are employed. It is kind of easier, but employed people still need to do the planning if they're going through certain tax brackets, because it could be that we can reduce the net adjusted income and keep them within certain tax brackets. So that would be different, wouldn't it, for the two? Do you want to just explain a bit about how that works?
Yeah, I mean, from an employed point of view, there's probably very limited amounts that an accountant can do for an employed person, even ones with excess income of over 100,000. Ultimately, it's all been declared through pay slips, and if that's their only employment is through their PAYE, then we're just reaffirming what the payslip says. So HMRC PAYE system that can't keep up at the best of times and can't understand having a tax code and not having a tax code. It just gets very confused very easily. So that's why high earners have to do a self-assessment to be able to correct the HMRC systems that can't handle them being a high earner. But there's very little we can do as an accountant. We just have to declare what is already technically declared. The important part is going to be the for the self-employed, or go back to the employed. The important part is their relationship with their financial advisor, and then that communication link between the client, the financial advisor, and us, the accountant. So I always say it should be a triangle. There should be the client, the accountant, and the financial advisor, and there should be a triangle of communication there at all times. So I know what you're doing with my clients' pensions and stuff, so I can take that into account for the tax return. You know what I'm doing in regards to the tax return, and the client knows what both we're doing, and we're all working together to the same end goal. Whereas a lot of the time, that's not there. The accountant doesn't talk to the financial advisor doesn't talk to the accountant, and you've got this linchpin of the client who, with all the will in the world, doesn't understand what either of us are asking the client, because it's a bit technical, and it all becomes Chinese whispers, and everyone gets annoyed. People start blaming each other, and it just falls apart. So that's kind of from an employee point of view. There's not much I can do, but I need to know what you're doing so we can all work together. From a self-employed point of view, there's a lot more accountants and bookkeepers can do to make sure that tax return is as tax efficient as possible. We're claiming all the expenses we're allowed to claim, all the different allowances we're allowed to claim and that are relevant, and we're educating the client on why they can't claim certain things, even though their mate down the pub seems to be claiming certain things. And then we're doing that as proactively and quickly as possible so that they can come to you and go, right, this is my taxable income. Because you don't care about their sales.
That's the magic number, the output magic number that we need, is income minus expenses that can be taken off, and then it's the taxable income that's left.
That's the bit that's important. So like my clients that have sent me all their tax questionnaires already, and have had their tax returns already, I've got this taxable income number that they can now have a chat with you and go, right, this is my taxable income. What's my option? Because until they know what their taxable income is, and until they know what their cash in their bank is, and how much is free and how much needs to go to the tax man, and because it's spoken for, like, until that's done, like, so that's, again, it just shows the importance of that relationship of in that triangle. We need to be proactive in getting on with this, not just so the client's not paying their tax bill at the last minute, but also so their client can have actual sound financial advice and has time to get that advice. Whereas if we're doing their tax return on the 30th of January, got no chance of you being able to give them advice at the same time.
No, exactly. Well, and because that's for a tax year that's already closed as well. There's a few things that we can do, but they're very minimal, most definitely. And I think that the excuses for this not happening, I see, is becoming less and less, because a lot of my clients now, I have a note on the file, bookkeeper goes to their office on a Tuesday, for example. So I know that generally on a Tuesday, if I need to ask them something or get a bit of paper signed, or they want the bookkeeper to see the bit of paper as well, that will probably happen on a Tuesday at about 11 o'clock, because the bookkeeper goes on site to their business at that time, and make a date in the diary for it, most definitely. I wanted to just ask as well about you, really, and I think the element that perhaps people don't know as much about you. You've bought businesses. Have you sold businesses as well? Tell us about your journey.
So I started On Point Accounting in 2017. It was meant to be me at home. I got disenchanted with my old job. I'd been with them for 10+ years, but they'd sold to some capital investors, and all of a sudden it was cut. And then it was like, minimum standards. We don't exceed this. This is the minimum standard. and the only standard we set, because that's profitable.
Okay.
And then it was like, right, actually, let's make redundancies. And it's like, right, I'm out. This is not why I joined what was a family-run business at the time. They'd retired and sold up, which went to the board. That was originally part of the board when it was a family-run business. So that was great. It continued the ethos and the culture. But then they sold, and then those buyers sold, and it became capital investors that were just interested in that bottom line. So I said thanks, but no thanks. I put my notice in October 2017. I started the business in May 2017. Did both to start with, and then went part-time in October, and then resigned completely in December. So 2018 onwards, it was just me. It was only ever meant to be me and just earning enough to live the lifestyle I wanted. It was never meant to be a team of 20 odd people servicing hundreds of clients across the UK, but that's where we've got to. And I think as much as I like the idea of it just being me and stuff, I forgot about my entrepreneurial and competitive self that, I like driving and taking opportunities. I don't like to say no to opportunities. So, which is how I've ended up with 4 different accounting firms across the UK.
So you bought the accounting firms, or did you grow them?
Yes, we brought 3 of them. So I brought one small bookkeeping firm in 2020 or 21, one of the two. That whole blur of COVID, basically. A bookkeeper I knew came to me and said, look, Johann, I've got all of these clients. I've got kids that need extra support. I'm just splitting up from my husband. The business is up to its eyeballs in debt. Can you just look after the clients? And I'm going to go get a PAYE job, and I'll settle the debt as best I can over time and stuff like that. It's like, right, okay. I looked at it, and it's actually, I need a new bookkeeper. So I said, right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a job. I'm going to give you that PAYE job you're looking for. I'll also take all your debt off your business, off your hands, and service that for you. And I'll give you £1 for the business. So her client book plus my need for more capacity made a good deal. And since then, I've done another 2 deals buying different accounting firms. And yeah, like we don't, I talk to opportunities probably on a monthly basis, and 9 out of 10 times they're a complete waste of time. The businesses aren't anywhere close to being ready to be sold, or the expectations of what they're going to achieve in the sale and what's realistic is completely different. But yeah, so I've grown a small group of accounting firms, and I do that kind of part-time now. The rest of my time, I do weekly podcasts for Ask the Accountant, and we've got a few other spin-off podcasts that we do seasons with there. And then I spend the rest of my time at Client Engager, growing a very quick growing practice management software.
And Lego in your spare time? Is that some of your Lego in the background?
It is. So I normally, if the wife doesn't treat me at Christmas to a Lego model, I then normally treat myself to a Lego model at the end of the tax year. So 31st of January, get that out of the way of, and I'll go to the Lego store and treat myself to a new model to build. And that keeps me occupied for a few hours on a weekend, and then
your Lego themes from looking in the background seem to be the same as my kids. So they're massively into Star Wars and space travel and Formula One. And I'm just looking in the background thinking my kids would have a field day.
Yeah, I think Lego have come up with some fantastic models for adults to deal with now, and it's and you know what? If you want a good social media post on LinkedIn, Lego. Everybody loves Lego. It brings the child out in all the adults on LinkedIn, and it gets so much traction.
And you get Lego now. My sons have got one where it makes a shark, but then there's another set of instructions that those same pieces make something else, which I think is really fascinating, and obviously done by some kind of computer generated thing. That is just fascinating.
The people that are designing these things, like I always sit there as I'm building them thinking, who on earth managed to contemplate this? Like, what kind of mind do you have to be able to go, we're going to take this and we're going to make it with all of these pieces? And it's like, that's just ridiculous. So yeah, like, and the detail they go to, like, in that F1 car behind me, like, it's not just the shell of the car. Inside it there is a fully working suspension, chassis, like engine part, pistons that move. It's just incredible. The level of
what about, is
detail
it Lego Technic?
Yeah, I never used to enjoy Technic as much as a kid. I was always more of a Lego person. But having built the F1 car, which is Technic to a certain degree, it got me a bit back into it, but I still prefer like the proper Lego models.
There was a Lego exhibition locally here, and the kids spent about an hour in the Technic room, and it was fascinating, all these moving parts and things like that. So
yeah. I took my now wife to a Lego exhibition in Stirling Castle for our second date, and they had all these huge model Legos of landscapes and like Amazon rainforest and all sorts. It was just incredible.
Oh, amazing! Well, obviously it worked if she's now your wife.
If she didn't catch on by that point that I liked Lego, then there was no hope for the relationship.
Fantastic. And so 3 things, should we narrow it down to 3 things that people could do now in order to just make a start? 3 easy things to make a start for the tax year that we're in. I think the first thing is really to get that mindset around thinking from April to April. That's for the personal tax.
Yes.
And that applies to employed people as well, who may want to reduce their taxable income. But people tend to think in calendar years. So it's really starting to think of that April to April.
Yeah.
What would you add?
I introduce your accountant / bookkeeper to your financial advisor. You know, build that triangle. And if you're missing one of those pegs, so you've got a financial advisor, but you haven't got an accountant or bookkeeper, speak to your financial advisor about their recommendations for an accountant or bookkeeper, because they'll know them. And vice versa. If you've got an accountant or bookkeeper, but you've not got a financial advisor, actually, yeah, you do want to be putting money into pensions, savings, bonds, whatever it is, speak to the accountant or bookkeeper, because they all know people. And what I tend to find is, if your bookkeeper or accountant knows a financial advisor and recommends them, it's because they work like the accountant or bookkeeper do, and vice versa. So, you know, we've got 3 financial advisors across the UK that we recommend. One being yourself, one being up in North Scotland, like proper North Scotland, and one being in the Central Belt. And the reason we've got 3 is because we've got 3 very different personality types. If your client wants more of a traditional gentleman in a suit, then we've got one that we can recommend for that, because there's no point in recommending, if that's what someone wants from a financial advisor, that's the type of personality they're looking for and they could get on with, then we've got that. But yeah, like, if you enjoy working with your financial advisor or accountant and bookkeeper, the chances are the person they'll recommend you to for the other part of the triangle have the same kind of personality and working ethics and response times, etc. And that's why they get on and refer each other, is because they're very similar and they look after that client base in the same way. So if you haven't got one of the 3 pegs for your triangle, go to the peg you have got and ask for a recommendation. And
yeah, I really like that.
Facilitate that conversation.
Yeah. And I find with the client relationships I have that have evolved and established over the years, there are some clients who are so caught up in their careers that I have to catch up with the accountant before I speak to the client. And then we basically distill it down to the information that they need. Some want to be involved, more involved, which is absolutely fine. But if they want less involvement, then we can also facilitate that as well. Obviously, we need to understand their direction of travel, their goals, their beliefs, their values, and their boundaries and things like that. But once you get to understand all that, then you can basically do a lot of it behind the scenes for them. So,
and that beauty of that communication between the finance advisor and the accountant happening without the client's involvement There's a reason you want that triangle, because you've got that direct communication. Whereas if it's just a straight line and the client's the piggy in the middle, we're back to that Chinese whispers of, my financial advisor said I need to do this, this, and this on my tax return. And the accountant's like, what? That makes no sense. Whereas if the financial advisor goes direct to the accountant and says XYZ, and they go, oh, that makes sense. Because the client won't retain that information and won't communicate it in the same way that it's been communicated to them. So it just saves headaches, wasting time. It's so much more efficient for everyone involved.
Definitely. Yeah. Fantastic. Great. Well, privileged to have your time, and really good chat. So if anybody wants to add any questions in the comments, then Johann or I will of course come back to you. So righto. Hope it worked. I shall turn it off now then. Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.